Good morning, well, good afternoon. It's one. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome again to Church Talk Tuesday. I'm your host, Emmanuel Rafford. I want to welcome you again to our show. Real quick before we start, remember to wash your hands, practice social distancing, all that stuff. Try to stay healthy and safe. Also, this is our first show that is being simulcast on YouTube. So if you have friends and family and people who don't have social media or don't have Facebook, tell them to go to the New Hope Church of God by Faith YouTube page and they can watch this live there as well. And you can also see us on the New Hope Church Facebook page. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm joined this time by itself. We back to what we usually been doing.
Yes, sir.
We're back with Rural Elder Reginald Damon. How you doing? I'll call you Pastor. How you doing, Rural Elder?
I'm good, doing very good, Brother Emmanuel.
Staying safe, staying healthy?
Yeah, trying to stay safe, trying to stay healthy. You know, I'm at that age where I'm considered to be high risk, but I told somebody the other day, though I'm not going to even call my age, but I am what I am, but I feel like I'm 20 years younger than what I am. So I'm good, though. Yeah.
That's good. All right, so interesting discussion we're going to have today. I think it's going to be really powerful. The subject is the spirit of excellence.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about kind of what that means and how that applies to today's time and what's going on. So first, for our viewers, can you kind of describe and define what the spirit of excellence means and what it is?
Yeah, to me, in my mind, the spirit of excellence is giving God the very, very best that we can give Him in any area of our life, whether it be our preaching or our teaching, whether it be you know our facilities and how they are looked. Think about something that Lady V mentioned last week when we were talking about excellence, the beauty of the property, the facility, not just inside, inwardly, but outside as well. I think everything has to be attractive and at a level that it represents God. One of the worst things that I think any ministry can do is not represent the Lord our God, who is a excellent God, who requires excellence in return. There's a saying that I quote from time to time: excellence honors God and inspires men. So I think if we live by that, then we'll understand that whatever we do for God, whatever we give to God, whatever we stamp His name to, it should be of excellence and quality.
Why do you think that's not the standard that most people, churches, however you define it, live by or go by? Because obviously, we talk about on a number of shows, the standard of church has come down, where it's not always the spirit of excellence. So why do you believe churches have kind of strayed away from that thought process?
You know, I think that it's just the attitude of that'll do. We just give Him something, and we expect that God is to accept what we give Him, and God don't have to accept just anything. He will not accept anything. If it's not our best, then He don't want it. You can find all throughout Scripture that the requirement by God was to give Him the best. It even in the sacrifice, you know, you think about the sacrifice in the history of the people of God, when God wanted a sacrifice, or wherever He required a sacrifice, He had to put some parameters around what that sacrifice is to be like. Like they couldn't go out and just get some old mangy lamb or sheep, something that had its legs broken or something that was diseased. It had to be their best. So God really, throughout the history of His people, tried to impress upon them, you bring me your best. It has to be your best offering. And, you know, sacrifices, even in their giving or whatever they did for God, it had to be their first and their best. Okay, so God is just that kind of God. He's a God that requires our best. It has to be excellent.
Let me ask you this: do you believe that mindset and doing that is easy, especially for people who are just coming into the faith, into the ministry?
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of times when I'm having conversations with my peers, they say, "Well, I'm not there yet. I'm working to it, but I can't. I'm not there yet."
Yeah.
So, do you think that that is normal, like somebody being not there yet, or do you think you should kind of walk into it with the mindset of your best?
Yeah, you should. I believe that you should walk into it with that mindset that I'm going to give him my best, because your best can always be changing. Whatever place you are, okay, in life, it could be a low place, but even in a low place, you can give God your best out of your low place. And then as you graduate, as God takes you to a better place, a better lifestyle, a better whatever, then that level of best rises to the level one is at, and it continually grow. We talked about last week, moving from a storefront, but even in that storefront that we were in on Genesee Street, we wanted that to be our best. We dressed that out. We went in, we worked hard, we laid brand new carpet, we put walls, we put new windows in, we put brand new pews. Even in that raggedy place, we purchased brand new pews to put it in that pews that was fitted for that place. And the idea, even in that place, we wanted to give God our best. Even in our own minds, we wanted to be proud to walk into that. And then, of course, when God blessed us to construct this facility, then we moved in. Now, again, as I just said before, now the level of where we are has came up. We are in a bigger place. We're in a nicer place now. So this has to represent our best that we're giving to God.
So now we kind of get to what we want to talk about. It's interesting now because we can't have church the same way we've been having it.
Yeah.
The online presence is a way bigger deal.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because our bishop in December, one of his mandates was to have an online presence. Yeah. So from your perspective, as a ruling elder, as a pastor, as superintendent, how do you carry on that spirit of excellence into ministry now that church is not happening the same way that you're used to?
Well, even with this time of crisis and pandemic, I think it still requires that we do everything that is within our power to present a excellent presentation to those viewers, those who are going to watch, those who are watching from around our district, from around the country, for that matter. And it's been in my mind, of course, we want people to see an excellent display, because I believe that when people see excellence, they'll come back to view excellence again. Again, let me publicly applaud you and this ministry media team for the excellent presentation that you all are giving, putting on through social media. And it's very, very important. I mean, I watched, over the past weekend, I watched some live streams that, would I go back to view them again? If I had to, probably not. Now, I'll do it because of my role and my position as being the district leader or a member of the executive council. I'll go back and watch it just for the sake of critique. And then I have to still be careful also, because in critiquing and then ultimately having to bring that to the attention of that leader, the leader of that media ministry, I have to be very, very very careful in how I approach that. But then at the same time, we want to, we want to put, I think the attitude must be that we want to put forth our very, very best presentation. So I'm critiquing and I'm asking myself at the same time, if I saw this, would this be the first live stream that I'll come back to next week?
How do you find that balance as a leader? Because I believe, I'm just speaking from just experience, some people are not open to critique.
Yeah.
I mean, they feel like it's criticism, or they feel like you're picking on them, or, so how do you balance that where it's like, I'm not coming at you from a place of where I'm saying it's bad, I'm just saying it could be better. So how do you balance that conversation?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Brother Emmanuel. How do you balance that? Of course, you want to get the point across that their live stream could be better, but then at the same time, you don't want to come across as being arrogant, better than anyone else. So I think that has to be presented, and from my perspective, will be presented with the spirit of humility. To say, I know you can do better. Just maybe a few little simple moves that need to be made that you can bring the level of your live stream up higher than where it is now. Something as simple as your audio. If you got and I've seen this, a beautiful picture, beautiful background, beautiful sanctuary. The visual look good, but the audio is no good. And we talked about this the other day. What can be done? I wanted to throw that off on you. I wanted to throw that off on you to try to handle that. But then, my position, I think my place is to humbly and casually say, hey, look, excellent. I watch your online presentation, but maybe you can tweak your audio a little bit, or maybe if it's not audio, if audio is not the problem, maybe it's visual, or maybe you need a clearer picture, maybe you need to reposition where your camera is to get a better view.
It's interesting though, because of the times we're in, I know that a lot of pastors, like worldwide, some just weren't on board with the online streaming. They that was something that they did not want to do, something that they had no business, had no interest, no interest in being a part of. I'm not doing it. And now to be forced into it, do you think that's kind of a reason why some people are so far behind, because they didn't embrace it early enough?
Oh yeah, absolutely. People didn't embrace it. They, I think, didn't hear the heart or the cry of the leadership. You mentioned about our presiding prelate, Bishop J. McKnight, who back in December of 2019, who said he wanted every local congregation within the Church of God by Faith to have an excellent online presence. Okay, and I think in many cases that went in some people's ear, went in one ear and then out of the other ear, and then all of a sudden, a couple of months later, we are faced with not being able to physically congregate in our local, in our churches, in any number, and then it forced us now to have to get the message out via social media. So you're behind now. Leaders are being thrust into this position of having to try to make it work, make it go when they're really not ready to put it out there like that.
So how does this the being in this predicament affect your leadership? Like, is there, because you can't gather, because you're not really seeing your members as much, how does this change and affect how you lead a church?
Wow. First, the mind, my mind had to be elevated to the place where I'm thinking that, hey, even though I'm not physically able to be in the sanctuary with all of the parishioners being here, but then at the same time, I have the potential of reaching many, many more people than I would have by physically being together in the church or in the sanctuary. So, now I'm thinking, now, well, I don't know who all is watching.
Right.
Okay, I don't know how many people is watching, but what I do know is I want to be up on my game. I want to know what I'm talking about because, people around the world, around the country is watching. I want to be engaging, and I want to be relevant. I want to be able to articulate in a clear manner. These are the times where you can't necessarily hoop and holler. Because, hey, who are you hooping and hollering to if you don't have people in the pews that can respond to your hoop, your holler? Well, since you don't know who you're preaching to, this is the time now, I think, just to slow it down and communicate. It gives us time to work on our communication skills. So,
I mean, it's interesting you say that because I think from watching a lot of live streams from just see, I think a lot of people just get into what they usually do.
yeah.
And they're doing as if they're in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
And some people believe that's how church should be going. You should still be having church and still be doing ministry as if we're in the building.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what's your perspective on that? Do you think church should be the same as if we're still in the building, even though we're physically not?
Well, I guess to some degree it should. The way we've decided to do it here is we still want to present as close to the way we did when we were physically able to gather. We still want to, have praise and worship. We still want to have the reading of the scripture. We still want to have prayer, and then we want to give it to the leader. I want to give it to myself, in this case, as being the pastor, to deliver a word that is relevant, a word that is in season for those who I think might be listening. Okay, and I'll say one thing. One way I think that I was kind of ahead of the game in that sense was what happened in my life prior to online streaming, my training, if you will, my journey in ministry, and I think I shared this several weeks ago, my time of being prepared when I was on Ask the Pastor, first as a panelist. And I think I told you this when I first went on that program as a panelist. I didn't know which camera to look in. I really didn't want to answer the questions, but the host of that show would throw direct questions in my way, which put me in a place where I had to sit there and answer the question that was being asked. So I worked for a while as a panelist, and then. In that progression, I was approached about hosting the show, which was a whole different ball game. Now you're hosting. The majority of that hour of Ask the Pastor is thrown to you. You got to open the show. Okay, as you do here, you have to open the show, okay, and then when the questions start coming in, then because you are the host of the show, then you got to direct those questions at the panelist who is on the panel, and then at the end of the show, then that host has to close that. In my training, I learned that closing the show was the mindset needed to be that you are landing. You're landing this airplane, so to speak.
Right.
Now, so you close it. So that gave me some exposure to being in front of the camera. So now much of what I can do now, I can do it in a way that I'm comfortable sitting in front of the camera. I'm comfortable standing in front of people and talking. But it was what happened in my journey.
This is interesting because how much of a pastor's job is adjustment? Like, because something you said it sparked in me because a lot of people, like maybe old school pastors, they get stuck in their ways as the saying goes.
Yeah.
So how much of a pastor's job is it really to adjust to the times that they're in, or is it the job of the pastor to kind of stay where they're at and be steady?
You can't stay, none of us can stay where we are. The world is changing. The world is changing. We have to adjust to the changes. I think any leader that don't adjust to the changes is going to fall behind. And who's not going to be who's not going to be relevant as it relates to the time that they're in. We are called to serve our present age, our present generation, and with the world changing, with how we do church changing, then we have to make those adjustments. We have to make those adjustments. And I think any good leader, I say this often from time to time, any good leader has to know his or her audience. You have to be able to perceive and read your audience, and it's constantly changing. So we have to make those changes.
So after this whole pandemic is over, do you think church will go back to being the same as it was before the coronavirus came?
No, church will never be the same. Church will never be the same. I believe that there's going to be some people who will connect with our ministries, who will connect with our churches because of live stream, that will never physically walk into the doors of the church. You understand what I'm saying? Never walk into our congregations. But yet, because what they saw during this pandemic, yet what they saw or heard through live stream, they're going to be looking for us every week going forward. And now the mindset is going to have to be not only, when we do get back to the place of some level of normalcy, when we get back to the place where we can physically be in our congregations, but that leader, I will still have to say, yes, I'm preaching to y'all, but then at the same time, there's some people who have connected and who's going to be looking to see our live stream every week, whether it's Sunday or Wednesday. They're going to be looking to see that, and you got to engage them. We got to engage them as well. So we can't start this, cannot have started this, and then when it's all over, discontinue it. It has to continually go on. It's the way the world is going.
So do you, as a pastor, is that something you like, or do you think it's going to be a hard adjustment for churches as a whole?
Do I like it? I'm loving it.
Okay.
I'm loving it, and I'm gearing myself in a way that I'm pastoring, again, not just those who are in front of me, but those around the state, around the country, who said that I'm going to make this my church home, even though I'm not physically there. So I embrace it. I would encourage every other pastor to come to that mindset that you, first of all, need to continue your live stream. Even after this pandemic is over, you still need to continue your live stream, because there's going to be some people that you have reached during this pandemic who like what you heard, like what they heard, like what they saw, like your presentation, and want to connect with you every week. So I think we're going to be forced to continue on this level of ministry.
I think it'll be interesting to see that because I got to tell you, before the pandemic came, in my mindset, that's where church was going anyway.
Yeah, you did.
And I remember having those conversations with you, saying, Pastor, churches church is not just the four walls anymore.
Yeah.
Church is not that. And I remember I got a lot of pushback just from conversations. People like, well, church ain't never been that way, and church gonna be this way. And so I think it will be interesting to see. Whether pastors, whether ministries can adjust to that, because if you can't, from your words, your feeling is they'll be left behind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think it was this just come to mind. I think it was Malcolm X who said, "By any means possible, we're gonna get this done." I think we have to have that same attitude when it comes down to getting the gospel message out. By any means possible, by whatever means possible. We have our sanctuaries. We have our houses of worship. We want people to come in. We want the sanctuary to be full. But ministry has to go beyond the four walls of the church. And here we are now being forced to go beyond the walls of the church. And that has to continue. We can't, through this pandemic and our live stream now, get outside the walls of the church and get that message out to the masses, and then when the pandemic is over, we go back into the walls. No. I think the Lord has put us in this position. Our God has put us in this position that we have this vehicle to get the message to the masses. And it all lines up with Scripture. After this gospel has been preached to all the world, okay, then the end will come. So this is just another vehicle of getting the message out to all of the people.
That was powerful. Thank you, Bruno and David, for this conversation. Probably continue it next week because I think there's a lot more we can talk about when it comes to this. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. Thanks for all the comments, seen a couple comments. Thanks to everybody who watched. This has been Church Talk Tuesday. We'll see you next week.